Devaya Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya.
Devaya.
Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. So I like to seek devotees' blessings and good wishes so that we can remember this glorious personality, Jayadeva Goswami, and get his blessings on this day that he went back to the spiritual world. So these are certain prayers, paintings done of him. And this is, anybody recognize who this is here?
Jagannath.
Yeah, Jagannath. And there's Jayadeva Goswami. He's reading to Lord Jagannath, singing to Lord Jagannath. He was a musician, so he's got a nice veena there. And this is the Dasavatar bhajan that we just sang. It's a really nice picture, this one. Very traditional by the looks of it. Okay, so his life history, a little bit of his life history. He was born approximately 200-300 years before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was 1486, so around about 1200s. He was a great Bengali poet, great devotee actually, Mahapurush. He was born at the village of Kenduli, and that's situated on the bank of the Ajay River. And it's not far from the Ganga, a few kilometers. And Kenduli, we'll see a little bit later, it's a calm, serene, spiritually exalted place. And he was born on Akshaya Tritiya, the day that Rath Yatra carts are started to be built. And there's a strong connection between Jayadeva Goswami and Lord Jagannath, which you will see. So he was born to, the father was Bhojdev and mother was Yamadevi, Vamadevi. But he lost his parents when he was very young. And from his childhood, he was very detached from material life. And he exhibited the highest symptoms of devotion towards Krishna. He toured extensively, visiting various sites of pilgrimage. He was in Vrindavan at some point as well, I believe. He learned Sanskrit, gaining mastery of the subject. And he served as the court poet or pandit of King Lakshman, then ruler of Bengal. And there's a few pastimes which we can share about his time with King Lakshman. Later, Jayadev, he shifted to Navadvip, where the king had his headquarters. He didn't want to live in the palace of the king. He refused. So the king built a hut for him on the banks of the Ganga. Mm-hmm. And it was there in Navadvip that Krishna once gave Jayadev his blissful darshan, revealing how he would subsequently appear in Navadvip as Lord Chaitanya. So that was in Navadvip itself. Krishna came before Jayadev and explained to him that I will come as Chaitanya to inaugurate the Sankirtan movement. And he instructed Jayadev to go to Jagannath Puri. So at that time, Jayadev did protest to the Lord, saying, I'd rather live here, where you will be coming. But then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained to him that I will also be going to Jagannath Puri, and there's something I'd like you to do there. And I will be relishing what you will be writing in the future in Jagannath Puri. So please go there. So taking the instructions to heart, Jayadev set out for Puri, and he was always in ecstasy, and he spent his days laughing and crying in ecstasy, overwhelmed with emotions. And many people were transformed just by coming in contact with Jayadev, and they became his followers. So he was a devotee from his very birth. So now, it's interesting how he got married. There was a Brahmin called Sudeva, and him and his wife were unhappy. They didn't have a child. They lived near Jagannath Puri, not in Jagannath Puri, but they went to Jagannath Puri and they prayed before the Lord. And they promised the Lord that if by his mercy they got a son, then they would engage that son as the Lord's pujari, servant at Jagannath Puri. And if they had a daughter, then he would keep her as the Lord's maidservant in the temple. She would dance for him, she would sing for him. So he made that promise before the lordships. So in due course, the man's prayers, they bore fruit. And sometime later, this Brahmin, he was blessed with a very beautiful daughter called Padmavati.
So when he was actually requesting Jagannath for a child, so Jagannath said, why do you want a child? If you want to have the child and then just give the child away afterwards to me. So the father said, I want to experience the love you have when you have children. That is the only reason I want to have a child.
The man's prayers, that. A few years later, when the daughter attained youth, Lord Jagannath appeared in the Brahman's dream and instructed him to marry her daughter to Jayadeva. Because Jagannath was very affectionate towards Jayadeva. He saw that Jayadeva living in Jagannath Puri was very austere. And he needed a companion to assist him with his seva to Jagannath. So receiving the Lord's instructions, Sudeva, the father, and the daughter Padmavati, they went for Jagannath Puri. They went there. So now they found this Jayadeva that Jagannath had mentioned in the dream, the Brahmin. And the Brahmin, he said to, I must have missed a bit out here. Anyway, there was a conversation between the Brahmin, Sudev, and Jayadeva that he had a dream, and Jagannath had told him, instructed him that I have to give my daughter to you, Padmavati, in marriage. But Jayadeva, he had no intention of marrying. So he protested. He said, I don't have any money to sustain a family. I'm not looking to get married. Who is this girl anyway? So they started a little debate. But the Brahmin said, look, it's the Supreme Lord who has ordered him, and he's not going to disobey the Supreme Lord's instructions. And saying that, the Brahmin left Padmavati with Jayadeva and returned home. So there's Jayadeva left with Padmavati. So Jayadeva tried to convince Padmavati, go home. I have no intention of marrying anybody, let alone you. But she replied to him that she'd already surrendered her heart unto him, Jayadeva. And he had no choice. So in this way, although reluctant, Jayadeva was left with no other option but to marry Padmavati. Okay. So Jayadeva, he was great devotee. He would contemplate day and night upon the loving pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And he received inspiration from within to compose the Gita Govinda. And it's a very famous book that glorifies the intimate loving pastimes, reciprocations between Lord Krishna and the gopis. It's a very, very esoteric book, which we are not actually recommended to read or study.
Yeah. Bhaktisiddhanta said that there are 6 scriptures that we should never ever study. We can appreciate them, but never study. And also Prabhupada said that we should follow that instruction, and Gita Govinda is one of those, because we cannot ever understand the mood of separation between Radha and Krishna. And Jayadeva is also written in the Gita Govinda. That is the only person who can understand Gita Govinda is only Krishna himself, no one else.
But if a devotee is at the level of minimum ruchi, which is having great taste for the Lord, surpassing all the other Bhajana Kriya and Niriti. What's the other one?
Anartha Nivritti.
Anartha Nivritti. And Ashakta attachment. But if everyone's got real taste, but that is a long, long way away for us. Then one can read the Gita Govinda. Anyway. So, Krishnadas Kaviraj in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he has written about Jayadeva Goswami. In the company of Swarup Damodar Goswami and Ramananda Ray, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu once passed half the night talking about the pastimes of Krishna. As they talked of Krishna, Swarup Damodar would sing songs exactly suitable for Mahaprabhu's transcendental emotions. To complement the ecstasy of Mahaprabhu, Ramananda Ray would quote verses from the books of Vidyapati and Chandidas, and especially from the Gita Govinda by Jayadeva Goswami. So this is in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Leela. So this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was saying to Jayadeva Goswami when he appeared before him 300 years before his appearance, that I will be coming and relishing your work in Jagannath Puri.
And the Gita Govinda is actually made up of 12 chapters, 24 songs. And the introduction is the Dasavatar that we just went through.
There are many, many traditional stories regarding the life of Jayadeva Goswami, and this is one of the stories which is regarded as being correct, authoritative. So one day, Jayadeva was composing a particularly sensitive section of the Gita Govind, describing Krishna's relationship with the gopis headed by Srimati Radharani. He meditated deeply on what he had written and became concerned that he had gone perhaps too far in describing the exalted character of the gopis. So this was at a time when, in his pastimes between Krishna and the gopis, the Srimati Radharani was upset because Krishna had neglected her. So then it was a question of how does Krishna get again the favor of Radharani? What he had written seemed to represent Krishna's position as being, in a sense, subordinate to that of the gopis. And yet Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How could he be subordinate to the gopis? He had been inspired, so Jayadeva had been inspired to write a line stating that Krishna bows down to touch the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani in order to pacify her, as she had been upset by Krishna's neglect of her. So his dilemma was, how can that be so? Krishna is a supreme Lord. He's not subordinate to anyone. And yet, why have I been inspired to write that Krishna touches the lotus feet of Radha? Anyway, his hand shrank from the page. He hesitated, thinking, how can I commit such an idea to writing? How can I have the audacity to put such a thing in black and white? At that time, he decided to go and bathe in the Ganga, hoping that perhaps some inspiration would come to him. So Jayadeva went off to take his afternoon bath, leaving his wife Padmavati behind to cook the offering for the deities.
Yeah. So whatever Jayadeva used to go for bath, it used to take him like 3 to 4 hours. So Padma didn't know that, I have this much time. So she'd, busy cook. And also should read in the meantime what Jayadeva Goswami has written. So she also knew the Gita Govinda, because Jayadeva would never ever say it out loud. So no one apart from him really knew what it was. But then this particular day, he came back in half an hour. So, Padmavati thought, wow, that was very quick. So
that's right. It was quick. And this was written this was written when they were back in their hut, right? Because Ganga is mentioned here. So
no, this is in Puri itself.
But how come there's Ganga here then? Because Ganga doesn't flow through Puri. Anyway,
Sure.
so Anyway, while he was away, Krishna arrived at his house in the guise of Jayadeva.
It's Jagannath, yeah, actually. Yeah.
Oh, okay, is it?
Yeah. not
Padmavati was surprised to see Jayadeva return so soon. So as Jayanti said, half an hour he was back. You normally take 4 hours, right?
Mm.
He explained that he wanted to finish the verse quickly, so he returned. Right. So then Jagannath went over to Jayadeva's writing desk, and there he found the sheaves of palm upon which the Gita Govinda was written. Actually, this was different, right? This is sari, is it?
Hmm?
Was it this cloth it was written on?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay, okay.
No, this is still the sheets.
Okay, come.
Yeah.
Krishna picked up Jayadeva's pen and wrote the verse with the line, Dehi pada palava mudaram, which means Krishna bows down his head to the lotus feet of Shri Radha. So Jagannath himself, Krishna himself, wrote that down to finish off Jayadeva's sentence. So this is the...
This is what Jayadeva actually saw.
Oh my. Is Krishna crying?
Oh
Yes.
yeah. Radharani can make him cry, no problem.
This is an instance Radharani is really angry with Krishna. He was late. So that to pacify that this is what he's doing.
Yeah, is it, Prabhuji, sorry to interrupt, but is it true that Radharani was older than Krishna?
No.
Okay.
Her eternal is, I think,
14 years.
Yeah, 14 years and 6 months or something like that. And he's 15 years something. Yeah, something
Okay.
like that.
Because I always thought, I mean, quite a few people think that Radharani is older than Krishna.
No, eternally he's always going to be older.
Yeah, no, I mean when he was in Vrindavan.
No, because he came before. He appeared before her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he would have appeared before. Most probably. That Vrindavan one, I'm not sure. But yeah, most probably.
Didn't Krishna, Radharani didn't open her eyes.
Yeah.
And then Krishna went there. So obviously Krishna is older than Radharani.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, well done, Kamachi.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
So, yeah, Krishna is often late. And one time she even took out her belt and tied him up to a tree. So she can make him cry and a lot more if she wants. With this, Krishna, disguised as Jayadeva, sat down and relished the prasadam prepared and served to him by Padmavati. After finishing the prasadam, Jagannath decided to take rest. And as is the culture, Padmavati then started to have lunch because her husband had finished. So she started to eat. She was relishing the prasad. Yes, Riyansh.
Prabhuji, is that she tied to a tree?
Sorry?
Prabhuji, is Radharani tied Krishna to a tree?
Yeah, in their pastimes. And that's why he's called Damodar. Radha Damodar. Well done. Fantastic. Good boy. So just at that time, Jayadeva returned from bathing at the Ganga. And he was surprised to see Padmavati taking lunch because normally she would take lunch after him. So he asked about prasad. Well, why prasad? And his wife was perplexed. You've just eaten. And you're supposed to be taking a rest. And Jayadeva was astonished. She was astonished. And then she explained the exact sequence of events, including that you had finished the verse that you were contemplating before you went to have your bath. And then Jayadeva was very inquisitive. He went over straight away to the book and he saw there in wet ink the verse he had thought of writing before he had gone to bathe in the Ganga. Dehi pada pallavam udharam, It's a little different from the
Mm.
Mudharam.
Mudhara.
Okay. Krishna bows down his head to the lotus feet of Sri Radha. So, upon seeing that verse, he said to Padmavati, "It's a miracle. See here, what I told you, I was reluctant to write, has been written here exactly as I thought of it." Tears of ecstasy flowed in rivers from his eyes as he understood the mystery of what had just transpired. "Padmavati," he said, "you are the most fortunate. Krishna himself has written the line, Dehi Pada Palava Udharam, and accepted prashadam from your own hand." So then they sat in ecstasy and relished the Mahaprasad remnants left by the Lord. What a pastime. So this is where Jayadeva comes and he's seeing what Krishna has written. And Padmavati is shocked. This is that cloth you told her to put in.
Yes, so the Jayadeva, after Jayadeva has written the Gita Govinda, he wants to offer it to Jagannath. But he's thinking, I can't really offer it in the form of a book or sheets or like that. So what can I do? So then he thought, okay, let me get it written on cloth, and then I can put it around Jagannath, and the pujaris can offer that every evening. And so this is to please Jagannath. So he went to his village and got the weavers to actually write the Gita Govinda on cloth, to the weavers to do that. But every time he used to narrate, he used to go into ecstasy, and so it was getting later and later. They couldn't finish it. He actually started writing this on the cloth, and when Snan Yatra took place. So basically, the whole Gita Govinda was written on the cloth between Snan Yatra and Rath Yatra. That was the period. Anyway, when they got to the bit about Krishna bowing down to Radharani's feet, Jayadeva just went to ecstasy, and he wouldn't come out of ecstasy. So then, Jagannath is thinking, how is this going to get finished? So he actually came as an old man. He was singing the Gita Govinda. So the weavers thought, oh, he's someone who knows it. So they called him over, and they said, you know it. So he said, yes, I do know it. So I said, okay, we're stuck here. So he said, yeah, I can help you with that. So basically he narrated the whole of Gita Govinda, and he left. And then when Jayadeva actually came back to consciousness, he said, okay, let's where was I? Where did we finish? I said, oh, someone's already come. An old man came and helped us, and we've finished it. So the actual Gita Govinda was weaved on 12 saris. And then again, Jayadeva was amazed that Jagannath came and helped him in this mission of his. So then he took it to Jagannath and offered it to the pujaris. And every evening, the pujaris would put the saris around Jagannath and offer it like that.
Good, thank you. Okay, so Gita Govind is recited in the Jagannath Puri temple every day, and there's an extraordinary pastime for this as well.
And that's in the evenings that they recite this.
And I think he used to go and recite it anyway.
That's right,
every
yes.
day. But anyway, there was a girl called Padma, who was a daughter of a gardener, and they used to live in a village near Puri. And she became expert in singing Gita Govinda. And because it's very famous with the people of Orissa. So one evening she was busy plucking eggplants in the garden. And while doing so, she was also chanting from the Gita Govinda. And Lord Jagannath in Puri, he was so enchanted by hearing her sing these melodious verses that he couldn't control himself. This was late evening. And he left that altar, the altar at the temple, and he went all the way to that garden where Padma was singing. And he would be completely engrossed in hear her sing, that he would completely forget himself. He would follow her around the garden. And one time his dhoti got dirty and he got stuck in the thorn plants of the eggplant tree, and his part of his dhoti actually tore and fell onto the ground. And then Padma finished what she had to come and do, to take the eggplant and put it in a basket, and she returned back home. So the next morning, Jagannath went back to the temple. The priest, he was shocked to see Jagannath's dress was dirty and it was torn. So they became a little alarmed. They told the king, and the king thought this was inauspicious, not auspicious, inauspicious. And he begged for forgiveness from Jagannath. But that night, Jagannath appeared in the king's dream, and he told him exactly what happened, that the reason why the clothes were torn. Yes, Nanivan.
Yes, this story of Lord Jagannath leaving the temple, similar to the times when he left the temple to eat the khichdi, isn't it, of that
Yes.
day?
What was her name? Was it Ganga Devi? I can't remember. Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. So
He's very kind.
Yeah, he does that very often. With his,
yes.
Karma Bhai.
Yes.
Yeah, he's very reciprocative.
Yeah, he likes to come out of the
Karma Bhai
He
Khichdi.
does, he does. Yeah, he
Yeah.
does.
Actually, Jagannath, just before midnight, the Pujayas actually dress him up really elaborately, because they say that he goes out to play the Ras Leela with the gopis. So, the dressing at midnight is really more opulent than during the day.
They dress him up for the Ras Leela.
That's right, yeah. But he doesn't have much time, because they have a midnight darshan, and then
4 in the morning.
Yeah, 4 in the morning again. He's back. He has to rush back.
Have you seen that, Prabhuji? Midnight darshan and...
We haven't been for midnight.
No, we will next time. Yeah.
Take me with you.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, Nanivan.
Thank you, Prabhuji. I know you will.
Yeah. It'll be an honor. Yeah, I still remember we were there exactly 1 year ago. Today.
Just less.
Today,
In February.
Yeah, we are in February.
Yeah, end of February we went. It was in March. Yeah, early March.
You went there, and we were there as well in India.
Oh.
Lockdown started, and you were stuck there, isn't it?
Yeah. We went on 28th of February.
Okay. King, being curious, went next morning to find out what had been explained by Lord Jagannath to him in the dream. In fact, he sent his guards to the village and to the garden, who discovered the torn portion of the Lord's dress in the garden. So that proved the authenticity of the dream. Then the king went to Padma's house, informed her what happened, and he arranged for the whole family to shift to Puri, giving them proper residence. And from that day on, Padma would recite Gita Govind in the Jagannath temple every day in front of Lord Jagannath. And this practice apparently still continues till today. And the descendants of Padma recite Gita Govind daily before Lord Jagannath, which also Jayadeva used to do. So this is fascinating, really. This is him reciting in front of Jagannath. So during his later pastime, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he remained greatly absorbed, relishing the Mahabhav of Radha. His heart was an image of Radha's emotions, greatly turbulent with the feelings of union and separation with Krishna. It was during those times that the nectarian verses of Gita Govinda greatly comforted him. Yeah, so it's a really powerful verses. Once while Chaitanya was going to the Jagannath temple, he heard a lady singing the Gita Govinda in a very melodious voice. The Lord immediately became very ecstatic and ran to meet the singer, being completely devoid of external senses, consciousness. The Lord did not know whether it was a man or a woman singing. Govinda, his personal servant, ran after Chaitanya and stopped him just in time. Govinda then exclaimed that it was a woman who was singing. So remember, he was a sannyasi, so he couldn't associate with women. As soon as Chaitanya heard that the singer was a woman, he returned to his external consciousness. He thanked Govinda for stopping him and remarked that he certainly would have died if he had touched the body of a woman, because the sannyasis were not allowed to do that. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written that although Chandidas, Vidyapati, Bilva Mangal, and Jayadev lived before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was externally manifest within this world, Mahaprabhu's conception of bhakti had arisen within their hearts and was expressed in their writing. That's why he relished all these authors, poets, whatever work they did. Besides the Gita Govinda, Jayadev has written another book called Chandralok. The famous Dasavatar describing the 10 avatars of Vishnu is from Gita Govinda. As you said, the introduction.
Yeah.
So Jayadev's disappearance day is on Paush Shankanti.
That's today.
Today. At present, at Jayadev's birthplace in Kenduli, there is a festival every year on this day, which is known as Jayadev Mela. In 1683, the king built a temple to preserve the birthplace of Jayadev. His and Padmavati's Radha Madhav, which were discovered by Jayadev on a place called Kadamba Khandi on the banks of Ajay River, are still worshipped there. These deities are still worshipped there. You want to tell?
Yeah. So when he was living in Navadvip, the king, King Lakshman said, please come and live with me. He said, no, I cannot live with you in your palace. So he said, okay, please let me build a hut for you in Champavati. So he said, why Champavati? So there's 3 reasons. Champavati is, well, there's a lot of sages there, so you'll be really happy there. Also, it's near where so there's a lot of champa flowers which you can offer to your deities there. So he said, okay, I do not have any deities, but yeah, I'm happy to go there. So King Lakshman built a hut in Champavati for them. So they moved from Navadvip to Champavati. And then he used to go to the Ajay River to bathe in there every day. And then, he's desiring to offer these flowers to the deities. So that is, he's desiring that every day. And one day while he's having a bath, this deities come up and touch him in the river. And he takes hold of these deities and he names them Radha Madhav. So from that day, he starts worshipping these deities, Radha Madhav, which we'll see a picture of soon.
Will we?
I think you got pictures.
Yeah, probably not of the deity.
No? Okay. Sorry.
Anyway, let's have a look. Maybe. So this is the temple. I don't think we got the actual picture, but anyway,
sorry.
the birthplace Kenduli. I was trying to look for it, but I couldn't find it. He used to travel several kilometers every day to take his bath in the holy Ganga. Feeling compassionate upon him, Ganga once personally manifested before Jayadev, assuring him that she would appear at Kadamba Kandi every day so that Jayadev could take his bath there itself and did not have to travel far. So this is the Kadamba Kandi in Kenduli on the banks of the Ajay River. At the moment it's dried, as you can see. So this is this is his deity, Jayadev, in that temple. Shri Radha Vinod temple, yeah. And then this is Padmavati, his wife, on the phone. Looks like she's on the phone. And this is Krishna touching the feet of Radha. Interesting picture, this one.
Okay, yeah, pictures. Okay.
You can turn this past.
Yeah, okay. There's another pastime with the Jagannath temple. So after King Lakshman passed away, his son, he became the king. And then he said, okay, I know Jayadeva Goswami's Gita Govind is really amazing. I'd also like to write something. So he called it the Navya Gita Govind. So he composed it and he offered it to Jagannath, the pujaris to offer. So the pujaris offered that as well in the evening and closed the door. And in the morning, when they opened the doors of the temple, they saw that Jayadev's Gita Govind was on the chest or the heart of Jagannath. Yeah, you know, the cloth was just placed there. But the other one, it was just torn up and scattered everywhere. So that king, he's thinking, and I'm so useless. The Jagannath won't accept what I have written. So he went into the Ganga to drown
himself.
yeah. So as is entering the Ganga, Jagannath actually comes to him and tells him, you know, why are you doing this? You know, what is the reason? So he said, you know, you didn't accept my works. What's the point in me living now? They said, okay, you know, you shouldn't really do that. So how can I remedy this? He said, okay, please accept a little bit of what I've written. So Jagannath said, okay, I'll accept 12 of your verses. So the 12 verses have actually been added to Jayadeva Goswami's Gita Govind. Acharya say we're not sure which part of it is the king's version. So that is recited together with Jayadeva Goswami's Gita Govind every day.
Okay. And these are the deities actually, Radha Madhav, which are worshipped in that Kenduli temple. Radha Vinod temple. Okay, any questions or any comments, please?
Prabhuji,
Yes,
it
Nalini.
is possible to show the first photograph, which was